right, welcome to another episode of Spare Time. I'm your host, Carlos. And this episode is brought to you by Umpqua Survival, the best store in town. Today, my guest is a good friend and mentor of mine, Mr. Lenny Harris. I can't ever pronounce your name.
Most people can't.
And his cousin Josh.
Hello.
Who I know nothing about, so he's not prepared at all. And then, as usual, my buddy Mike.
Hello.
Mike.
He probably sounds like he's in a cave because he didn't even lean into the mic at all.
Should we move the mic directly, like equal distance between us? Would that help?
I think you guys should.
There you go.
Once in a while, your tongues can touch, and it'll be awkward.
But what did I walk into?
That's
you gotta watch Mike. He's sneaky.
Yes. It's all for Carlos's entertainment.
No, don't worry. Don't worry, Josh. You're too tall for him.
Yeah.
He won't bite.
I do like midgets.
Good. I'm safe over here then.
Oh, man. So, Lenny, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
My name's Lenny Harris. I grew up in Oregon City. Spent most of my life there. In 2017, we had the opportunity to buy a facility down in Winston, Oregon, and to move our business into. So my wife and I packed up Vital Signs Northwest and our staff, and we moved down to the great Umpqua Valley. We were here for about 5 years until COVID kind of changed the Oregon atmosphere, and we unfortunately had a couple deaths in our immediately family and some a real close friend and staff member. And with the kind of COVID landscape, we had the opportunity to move to Texas. So we've spent the last 2 years in Texas. We sold half of our company and to ex-employee and a good friend of his, and they rebranded as C-Stack Graphics. And about 2 months ago, we had the opportunity to buy the company back, and we just moved back about 2.5 weeks ago. So we're back in the Umpqua Valley.
Nice.
Yeah.
A little roller coaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Life's an adventure.
Right on. Josh.
Yes, sir.
Since you're our extra special guest, tell
He's
us a little
extra
bit about
special,
you, man.
all right.
Well, I'm a bit of a computer nerd, a retro video gaming geek, and have an interesting and fun retro collection of mostly Nintendo, Super Nintendo, that kind of stuff. I work IT for an internet service provider in Estacada. I'm not going to say which one, but there's two you can pick from, so I'm sure somebody could figure it out if they really wanted to. I'm also running a business with my sister called Land of the Lost Girls. She has fantastic artistic talent, and she draws all kinds of nature, waterfalls, etc., based on her inspiration from going around hiking. And so we make greeting cards and posters and puzzles and coloring books. We did do stickers for a while, and that kind of soured because of limitations and the vast amount of flooding of the market of random people having stickers. So no more stickers, but maybe down the road. We bought a Cricut machine like a couple weeks ago and kind of playing around with that to see what we can do. Yeah, that kind of sums it up. I don't know what else you want to know.
Well, that's good, man. That's good. You got any of the real expensive NES games?
The most expensive NES game I have is Snow Brothers, which is around, last I checked, like $350 just loose cart. So just the cart itself.
Yeah, I've seen some. My stepson loves those old stuff, and he was looking for, what game was it? Like an original Mario Kart or something like that, I think. And they're like crazy expensive. I had no idea. So
Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo?
I don't
the
know
very first one.
I don't know if that was the one or not, but I know there was a game he was looking for, and when he was looking online, they were like crazy expensive. So
yeah, especially now with the market that they're going towards, they're doing the WATA grading or whatever. WATA's a company, and there's a whole shenanigans and controversy with them. but they're basically grading it like they did with comic books and baseball cards and stuff to try and
Yeah.
sell in the high-end market. They were saying that, a sealed copy of the original Super Mario Brothers went for like $3 million at auction. And I'm like, this stuff is just the new bubble, just like the stupid comic book market where everybody in the 90s was buying up comic books because they think it's going to be the next Superman Action Comics #1. Where they
Beanie Babies, man.
Beanie Babies, another perfect
Beanie
example.
Babies.
It's that faux collector market where they say it's a collectible and they market it that way.
The only people that make money are the ones that sell it.
Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I don't like buying boxed copies of games just because I want the loose ones because I'm going to play them. That's my whole point. It's like if I have a sealed or a boxed copy, it's like, why pay for it and have it sitting on the shelf if you're not going to actually enjoy it?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. Same old stuff.
Yeah. Work
and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Right on.
Well, work and kid, because the other one's gone. So down to one now.
Got the other out of the nest?
Yeah.
All right.
Finally.
Yeah, Mike's a softie, though. Like, he wants to spend time with them.
No, it's weird. I'm not married, so yeah, something.
Oh. So, you said you're born in Oregon City?
Yep.
What was that like, dude? What was Oregon City like growing up?
Oregon City was great. You had to get tough.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, it was just a different. I mean, now it's not like it was when I was growing up. I grew up in a kind of a hard area, if you want to say that. We were not well off at all. The house I grew up in got torn down. We were the last family to live in it. It was condemned after we moved out, so that kind of sucks. That's the way I grew up, but it's just part of it. I fought a lot. I was a midget. And yeah, still am.
Oh, wow.
So I got picked on a lot, and but I learned how to pick my own fights and hold my own. And yeah, I was stabbed in the face by the time I was like 6th grade.
Stabbed in the face?
Yeah, stabbed in the face.
I didn't hear that story.
Yeah.
That's
so a lot of people that went to school with me, I went to the same school my entire life, so people remember it. And then the school lines changed like my 6th grade. So the school I would have went to with and continued on with everybody, I got transferred to a different middle school. And so I met new people, played football against now I was on the same team with people we used to go against. And then continued to fight. So my parents transferred me again from Oregon City over to Gladstone, which was supposed to be like a little more preppy and stuff like that. Well, I definitely didn't fit in there, so I fought. And so I wrestled and I played football. And so wrestling became the outlet where I just started fighting on the mat instead. So, yeah.
How'd you end up getting stabbed in the face, though? Just being a smart ass?
Did some smart ass thing. Yeah. Called somebody's girlfriend, like 6th grade girlfriend, like, come on, something. And he had a protractor in his hand and jabbed me.
Oh, ow,
all the way through. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me give you
So-
a piercing.
Yeah. It was the first cheek piercing I got.
Jesus. Good thing it was
Last
your
one
cheek,
too.
though.
Yeah.
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 Could've
It's
took the
super-
eye out easy.
yeah. Super soft, I guess, flesh. And went right in.
Protractor, do that.
Yeah.
It makes me cringe.
You tell me about it. Yeah.
So, obviously, geometry wasn't your favorite subject.
No. I was never really great at math. If I was, I could have computed he was going to punch me.
Yeah.
That's funny. So after, so you did football and wrestling.
Yep.
After high school, how'd you end up getting to where you were wanting to buy a business or do a business? Or
Man, that coincidentally happened through high school when I moved to Gladstone. These guys were doing this. We had like a show and tell in one of these classes, and these guys had souped up this Geo Metro with a stereo system. And I loved it for whatever reason. And we didn't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I started learning how to do car audio. And there was a new guy that had came to our school. His parents had just moved, and he was loaded, and we became really close friends. And for, I want to say it was like his 16th birthday, he got a bunch of money for a stereo, and he asked me to help him do it. And so we built this whole stereo, and we were missing some part, and I'd become really close friends with a guy that ran Car Stereo City. So we ran out to see Mike, and when we pulled in, all the keyboards had rattled off of the all the desks, and coincidentally the owner was in there, and he's like, whose car is that? And started asking us about it, who built it. And I'd said I did, and so it was the first time I got to meet the owner, and kind of continued to nourish that relationship with the owner and one of the managers there. And when I turned 18 or 19, I was able to get a job there. And so it was commission only sales. And you ever want to learn how to make money, your commission's the way to do it. Your life depends
Straight
on
up feast or famine.
feast
right
or
there.
famine. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I started learning from some of the guys that were there. And this was like early 2000s. So Eminem had just come out. You had Snoop Dogg. I mean, rap was huge. And there was some of these guys that were in their early 20s making like $250K a year selling stereos.
Wow.
So I was like, I want to be like that, you know, and they were rolling brand new Beamers and all this stuff. And so for the first time in my life, I was around money and people that were able to get money. And so I learned really quick how to sell stereos, and I became very, very good at it. So I ended up becoming a assistant manager of the Vancouver store. We were supposed to be in like suits and ties and the whole nine, and that market up there was not about that. So I kind of went back to my roots. I just showed up how I'd want to buy from somebody, and started wearing street clothes and plain clothes and treating people like I'd want to be treated. And I got written up like 3 times for not wearing the tie and the whole 9 yards. But the manager started following kind of what I was doing, realizing that this isn't the way to sell in this area. And so we just kind of, Jeff, the store manager, kind of took me under his wing, and we built that store up. And then I got transferred to another store and kind of just kept the same approach. I just treated everybody the way I wanted to be treated, and it rewarded me with a very good life. I had a really nice apartment up in one of the best parts of Portland at the time, before Portland became what it is. And had 5 cars. Like, I was really, really into stupid RX-7s, and I would buy them and have motors done, and I got really into the racing. I mean, it was like Fast and Furious days, you know? So, so I had a loud stereo and a fast car, and one day we showed up to work, and all the doors would chain shut. The owners had kind of ran it into the ground, I guess, or I don't really know what the total story was there, but I went from making like almost $200,000 a year to sweeping floors for a construction company at like $16 an hour or something stupid. So I knew how to be poor. I grew up poor. So it was not the easiest transition, but we made it work. We had to get rid of our apartment, and I sold a bunch of cars. We moved in with my ex-girlfriend's parents for a little while, and I was able to work my way back up. I've always been really a hard worker. So, yeah, just kind of did that. And then I got a job from construction over to a rock quarry that had a landscape yard. And again, I was back in sales. Started selling and doing what?
Selling rocks.
Selling rocks. Selling rocks. And, you know, it's funny, but we were doing like $7 million a year in rocks.
Yeah.
So,
it was like landscape boulders.
it was landscape boulders.
Yeah, spendy.
It's spendy. Yeah.
Crazy.
We would do crazy polished stones, bubblers, the whole nine.
Waterworks.
Waterworks. Yeah. And so, I ended up developing one of the soils used in bioswales for the city of Portland. So like all the runoff had to go through these bioswales to filter out the water. And so we had really good contracts with, the state and city for stuff like that. So yeah, it was just back to what I knew, sales. So I wanted to be a cop my entire life. I wanted to help people. And, so first year of marriage, I got married, got hired as a cop, ended up being fired as a cop. So it made an interesting first year of marriage. So I got nailed because I had a CDL. And so I didn't get diversion like a normal person. I like had to go to jail, and I lost my license for a year, and had to have a breathalyzer thing after that year. But the fines, I got an attorney to try to fight it, and so that was pretty expensive. Between the fines, the attorneys fighting it, I think it set us back like $40,000-$50,000. It was expensive. Like we fought tooth and nail, and even the day we went to court, I didn't know I was going to jail. Like, I thought we were fighting this, and it was really bizarre. Like, even looking back, I got through the whole thing, and the judge is like, he was like, I'm gonna basically make an example out of you. Yeah. I mean, he kind of said it.
That's my luck right there.
So, I got home like after, I think I only had to do 2 or 3 days, and I got home, and I never wanted to do that crap again. I actually ran into people from grade school that I knew in there, and I was like, oh God. And so I told my wife I'd seen this guy carving rocks at our landscape yard, and he was charging to me it was big money. I said, I think I want to do this rock engraving thing. I got these fines I got to pay off. And so we started buying everything it took to do it. And she's like, okay, now carve me a rock. And I'm like, I can't. She's like, what do you mean you can't? Like, there was a stencil material I needed, and it's so like niche. You can't just buy like a foot or a yard of it. You had to buy a whole roll, and the roll at the time was like $500, and I was out of money. She's like, we spent all this money on this carving stuff, like engrave me something. And I'm like, I can't. So she pulled a beer glass out of the cabinet, and we took our Cricut and put it on the glass, and I sandblasted my first glass. So I threw a picture up of it. I was really proud. I drove a lot of John Deere tractors and stuff at the landscape yard. So I did a John Deere logo on one, and I did a cupcake thing for her because she was trying to do cupcake business at the time. And I put it out on Facebook, and like the next morning I had like 20, 30 orders. People were like, I got a wedding this weekend. Wow. I was like, what the heck? Like, I didn't do this to engrave glass. I did this to engrave rock. And so within like 2 weeks, I engraved enough glasses I could go buy the rock stencil, and then the real money started. I started doing rocks, and because I worked at a landscape yard, all the contractors were right there. And coincidentally, it was like 2008 when the economy had really crashed the first time. And the guy that was doing it, he had done like 15, 16 years in the military. And so he took off to go do the last 4 years. He's like, screw this. You know, he saw the economy doing what it was doing. And so he just signed back up. Well, they took him in 10 days. He was in Africa. From the day he signed up to the time, like 10 days later, they moved him. So all of a sudden there was no competition, but I also had nobody to really teach me either. I'd seen him do it like twice. So I did a couple demo rocks, and then I had a contractor that came in and needed this job done, and we did an address stone, and then it turned into another address stone. Then the city called, and then the state called. So by like year 2 or 3, I'd done 19 national monuments. It was kind of crazy. No shit. Like, yeah. That's so cool. It grew really fast. Then those same clients were like, hey, if you ever make t-shirts. I'm like, well, why would I make t-shirts? And then I found out from another lady that makes t-shirts that the equipment to cut the stencil for the rock is the same equipment to cut the stencils for t-shirts. And so we started doing vinyl t-shirts. And I want to say like year 2 of really doing this, Andy was able to quit her job and come home. We started in this shed in the back of our house that had a dirt floor. We tore that down after like a year and a half, built a whole new shop, and by year 3, we'd outgrown that, and we'd been looking for storefronts, and we found one we really, really liked, but it was way outside of our budget. We didn't realize, like, rent on a retail spot was $3,000, $4,000. Like, we didn't know it was that expensive. So it was kind of a dream. And 2 buddies had a tent shop in this big complex, and they needed another place to pull in vehicles. So they needed this bay. So they rented this other bay, but all the offices and the retail spot of it was available. And they're like, hey, come check this out. I went and looked at it, and I was like, I can't afford this, They're like, can you cover $800 of the rent? I was I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so we got our first space, and it was like, once we had the first retail part of the business where people could actually come that wasn't the house, it was like, it just kind of blew up. It was like, now you're legit, right? And so businesses could come and stuff like that. So it was kind of, we grew so fast, and my mentor had kept telling me, you got to watch growing pains. You get like, don't grow too fast. And we definitely grew too fast because I was excited. You know, we were taking stuff that we probably shouldn't, but we learned, and we learned fast. So made a lot of mistakes, but we had good people. We surrounded ourselves with good people that had Kinley and those guys not needed that space. Tad and Brandon, we would have never been able to do that. So it was really just like by the grace of them giving us that opportunity that we got here. I think that looking back on a lot of it, it's that same story for most people I meet, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody gave them some hand up. Yeah, the opportunity, you know? So,
well, and you were quick enough on the take to realize that there was an opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, what funny thing is the space that we had been looking at was this space. So the space they ended up renting was a space that I'd been looking at for 6 months on. Wishing I could afford it. It was on Craigslist because there wasn't like Marketplace at the time. That's how long ago this was, and it was just like, wow, look at this, like, and then the opportunity came through divine intervention, and it was the same exact space. Yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So. Yeah. So we stayed in that space. We had a 3-year lease on that space. We really outgrew it within a year, and I asked them to get another space. So we took over the whole bay and all that. And then what really brought us down to Southern Oregon was the AC on the building was continuously failing. And they covered it like the first couple of times. And then after 6 months, they're like, oh, it's in your lease that the HVAC is on you. You have to pay it. And we were like, what? And so they had the tech come out. And at first it was like $600. Then it was like $750. And they were always able to fix it. But then eventually the guy's like, this unit's 20 years old, man. It's time to replace it. And I was like, well, they're telling me it's on us. And they're like, every tech that came is like, I've been doing this a long time. Like, if it's a full unit, they pay for it. So we called the property manager and the owner, and they're like, no, this is on you. And we're like, no way. So we had a client that was a property lawyer, and so we had them read over our lease, obviously after we'd signed it, you know, not beforehand. And they're like, yeah, you're responsible for this. And we're like, what?
Damn it.
Yeah. And it was a 2-story building, so it had to be craned up, craned off. So there's a lot like not normal expenses, extra costs. You know, crane just even comes like $750 at this point. Then the hour, you know, those guys make $150 an hour or something stupid. And it had to be there all day to get the one up, the one down.
Not to mention you're spending all this money on somebody else's
space.
You're not going to take that equipment.
You can't take that equipment with you. Yeah. And I want to say the bid was like $27,000 or something with all the craning. And so,
crazy.
The Kinley, the guy that owned the tent shop that we've been able to kind of get into their space, called and said, hey, I have this buddy that's a HVAC like apprentice. Can he come look at it? I don't give a shit who comes and looks at it. At this point, I was like, you know, whatever. And he came and looked at it, and he's like, hey, I think I can bypass this thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, if I keep the motor running all the time, it won't do the shutdown and restart. It'll just run. And I'm like, whatever. Like, you know, he goes, it's worth a shot, right? And I was like, yeah. Our bill went up like $60, but it ran, even when we moved out, it's still going. And so we met the, you know, obligation of our lease. And we just said, I'm not going to put $28,000 into somebody's building. And so we started looking all over, and we found the building in Winston. And we came down. We used to drive through here a lot to go to Medford and stuff like that. So we're kind of familiar with the area. And we looked at that building and we're like, oh man, this has so much potential. It had an apartment built into it, then all the production area, and then there was a renter in the front space. And we were like, man, we can make all this upgrade. And so we put our house up for sale, made an offer on the building, and like 4 months later, we moved from Milwaukee down here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it just all kind of worked. We told our customers in Portland, not a lot of people came into that store anyway. It was traffic, rush hour all the time. It was just a location, and most of the time, couriers picked everything up.
Wasn't it right off of McLaughlin?
Yeah, it was right off McLaughlin Boulevard.
Yeah,
So-
that area is notoriously filled with traffic.
Yep. So that was the big thing. Like everybody sent a courier. So I called our couple big clients and they're like, can you ship? And we're like, yeah. Okay. Like there was no big problem. So our grand opening, we had like 100 people show up. And after that, it was crickets. Like we had good business, but nobody came in
Yeah.
because you couldn't get through traffic to come over.
Right.
So everything we just did via email and stuff like that. So really nothing changed for us moving, except for we moved to a slower pace of life, and our lives changed, but theirs didn't. So it worked out like crazy. And then when we got here, we met people like you, and I was texting and Instagramming people, and like our business over the next couple of years just thrived. It just like shot through the roof. I guess we're like the new kids. And so everybody.
Do you still have customers all the way up there?
Oh yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we just finished a bid for a job out of there the other day. It ended up being like 700, 800 hats. And so we still do
That's
a lot
awesome.
out of Portland.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty impressive.
so thank you. So,
Mike, you're going to have to swing the mic back and
I
forth
know.
between you guys.
I'm watching.
He's barely picking you
As long as I can move the needle a little.
So do we need to get a little closer like this
That's
up.
my.
and talk more intimately into the microphone?
That's the way it works.
Yeah,
That's
look
so
at how much better that looks.
look,
Well, yeah, because I was like practically eating the microphone.
Well, I have you guys' volume turned way up too. So
Yeah.
I suppose I should turn it down if you guys are going to actually.
Well, I mean, how far to lean in? Because it kind of feels weird having to like lean in shoulder to shoulder
Well, you
here.
can swing your mic back and forth. You don't have to.
you're from up north. You're used to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Whatever works for Carlos, I guess.
Oh,
Oh, that's
I mean,
funny.
I'm the unannounced guest that just kind of showed up, so
You're good.
I'm okay with however and working however.
Absolutely good.
oh, that's funny. So, Josh, you're an IT guy, huh? And
Yes.
and an all-around tech nerd.
Tech nerd.
Yeah, a bit of a nerd,
Yeah.
geek, whatever you want to call it.
I'm a nerd at heart.
I
Dude.
bet you're making money though. So
Decent enough money. I mean, honestly, with my current job, it's enough to pay the bills. It's not like I'm getting paid a huge amount of money, but it's a pretty cush gig.
You get to work from home doing that?
I used to before they put me on 410s. So previously I'd work 2 days out of the week from home remotely and then 3 days in the office, which was nice. And again, working from home remote is really the way to go because it's a lot easier to get stuff done. And once you clock out for the day, you're already at home. You don't have to drive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, with the 410s, it's nice because now I have 3-day weekends. So
You can come visit guys like this.
I'm actually on my vacation.
He's actually
starting
on his
today
vacation.
through next week. So
He's supposed to come to Texas, and we were like, hey,
we're not in Texas.
we're not in
anymore.
Texas anymore.
at least they gave me a heads up while I could get a refund on the plane tickets.
You didn't fly
Did you
all
get a
the way
refund?
That's what they said.
Oh, okay.
According to
Didn't
the
check
email they sent.
Didn't check his card.
here.
Oh, that's funny.
geez.
So he makes enough money to not check his card.
The numbers all line up, so
There
theoretically
we
it
go.
should be fine.
That's all right.
Nice.
Yeah,
I was a big nerd when I was growing up. Back before it was cool to be a nerd. Now it's cool to be a nerd.
now it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but I never outgrew it, so
I don't think there's anything
I don't
wrong
think.
with that,
Yeah.
man.
well, I didn't say there was.
I
I
think
just said I
there's
never
some-
outgrew it.
I think there's something to be said about authenticity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being yourself and knowing who you are. That's
Yeah.
the dream for a lot of people. You know.
Yeah, there's a guy I went to school with, and I haven't talked to him in years, but I still follow him on Facebook and stuff. He goes to like Renaissance festivals in full costume and like plays Dungeons and Dragons in the freaking tavern and because all those Renaissance festivals have like a tavern or whatever. And I was like, man, I went the wrong path, dude, because that sounds so fun.
Dude, do you think you really went the wrong path, though? I mean, a lot of people look to you the same way. Like, you got the gun store and, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you get to do.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody thinks about their life that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Just like everybody with long curly hair wishes they had short straight hair.
Yeah.
They're bald now.
I wish I could grow hair.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And my hair won't stop growing, and I wish I could freaking grow it, make it bald, and stay that way. So, it doesn't matter what you have, you want something else.
So I think that was part of it for us for Texas. We had this opportunity, and we didn't want to go and go, what if? Like, what could have been?
Yeah, you
jumped. We did it. It was great for us in a lot of ways. Brought my wife and I closer together. We got to kind of heal after losing my brother and an employee and her grandfather and a close friend of hers. So it was a kind of a reset, slowed down a little bit. But to be honest, to be home and see friends and be familiar faces and familiar places. Oh my gosh. Like you don't realize how much you miss the food or, I hate the cold weather, but I've been loving this cold weather because it never gets cold in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's like hot all the time. So I'm like, yeah, this is refreshing. So yeah, it's familiar. Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to go fishing already? Again?
I went fishing. I caught the biggest Chinook I've ever caught. Hopefully that's not, the story that hopefully that's not it.
Yeah.
But it is so far.
It was the Umpqua, right?
It was the Umpqua.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to believe, especially the spot we were at. I've never fished before, and to have such a giant fish come out of that, was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
So we live in such a beautiful area, Man, every time I drive through here now, it's like I took it for granted. So being home, I'm like looking at the colors changing right now of fall. And it's just so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we're very, very blessed in this area. Something I didn't realize up north. It's just the concrete jungle, right?
Yeah.
Coming down here, it's like, wow, we got Oregon so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
I can't disagree. I've been a little bit everywhere, and I always come back. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've come to Texas a few times.
Yeah, I've been to Texas a couple times.
Yeah.
I've only been to I guess I drove through, but I spent a lot of time in the Houston area.
Okay.
So, which really seemed like it looked a lot like here. So, I mean, it wasn't a big difference, but the weather was definitely.
The weather. Yeah. Yeah. The weather's the biggest difference.
Freaking humidity. And yeah, I could do without that stuff.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hot and humid.
Yeah. But, I would I definitely plan on going back over and spending some more time in Texas and checking some places out. I went over to, I can't remember where it was. Austin area?
Yeah, Austin area. Okay.
For a convention and.
Yep.
But I was at the convention the whole time, so
you didn't get
to
outside.
Explore anything.
Yeah.
So.
We call that the Portland of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just keep Austin weird. Keep Portland weird. It's just a bunch of weirdos.
But there's a lot of cool stuff there too.
Great food. Great. Yeah.
Stand-up comedy is that's like the new mecca for stand-up comedy.
Yeah, they got the mothership there from Joe Rogan. Yeah.
So I'm really into that stuff, so I'd like to go check that out.
The probably my favorite place was the Stockyards also in Fort Worth. Yeah, they do the live cattle drive down the road every day. It's just kind of a cool area. Not much has changed there. It's same brick buildings for the last 150 years. I love history, so that was a cool part.
Got to see the Alamo building.
Got to see the Alamo, down in San Antonio. That was cool.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the river walk right outside the Alamo. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Man, they have no guardrails. You got all these drunk people and you're just waiting for somebody to fall in. So, yeah, but they don't have a lot of safety features in Texas. It's No helmet laws.
Yeah, they get the Darwin.
The Darwin, exactly. Just die if you want to
natural
die.
selection,
Yeah, natural.
dude.
Yep,
You know, that's
yep.
what we need is just remove all the warning labels and let nature sort itself out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of these ridiculous warning labels?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just
Like-
give it a year or two,
Like a
and then put them
curling
back
iron
in.
that says,
External use only.
right, yeah.
Who the fuck made that one?
I don't even want to know the story behind that one.
Oh
I
shit!
deal with paint, on chemicals and stuff, and they say do not ingest.
Ingest.
Who the fuck would
Yeah.
do that?
Same idiots eating Tide Pods.
Yeah. Yep. It's so sad that we have to even put that on there. Like,
Yeah, I'm down for that. Just eliminate all that.
just a little while,
if they can't figure it
It'd
out,
be like your guns,
Yeah.
all the new guns say do not point itself.
Self.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
pull trigger.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Speaking
The explosive devices are like point away. Like, what do you even want that near you for? Oh man.
So you started the rock thing,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you kind of got pushed into.
Yeah, we got pushed
You
into
got kind of like pushed into doing
Yeah.
other stuff,
Yeah, we got pushed into it.
and but it all worked out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it all worked out.
great.
One of the things that we don't do anymore, which was kind of one of my favorites, was the paver engraving. So we worked with a lot of schools and did like the Buy a Brick fundraisers and stuff like that. But the apparel side of our business grew so fast and so steady that we couldn't really go to those projects anymore. And then labor shortages and it was kind of specialty. I'm sure Mike deals with this, like teaching somebody to paint. It takes so long to get somebody trained to that point. We had to kind of pick what was the most steady and the easiest kind of thing to train.
Yeah.
And the apparel was really, really it. The engraving of stuff in the laser and the embroidery became our kind of bread and butter. Yeah.
So is it you got like a plotter and you got a table, like CNC
Yeah.
style?
Yeah. So on the
router
rocks,
table or-
it was exactly like that. A plotter would cut out the thick vinyl.
Yeah.
You'd weed it, put it on the brick, sandblast it, and paint it while the stencil was on. It wasn't rocket science, but it was hard enough that
Yeah, you have to follow procedure.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, like especially in rock, all rocks made of a different. Like two rocks are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So pressure, length of time, yeah. So I still get pictures of rocks we've done up north. Actually, where Josh is in Malala, we did the Arrowhead Golf Course. So anytime there's like a big golfer there, they take a picture next to the rock and they'll send it to me. And I mean,
Awesome.
I engraved that rock like 8 years ago, so
That's what I
did that.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool.
on Wikipedia, I did a rock for Madame Dorian. She's kind of the Sacagawea of Oregon,
Yeah.
and she helped the explorers through and stuff. And so I did her rock outside of a church. That was really weird because like they were doing an unveiling, and I was invited to the unveiling. And we crest this hill to the church, and there was hundreds of cars on either side of the road. And I was just thinking there's like 20 people at this thing, and
You're like, oh, this is a big
this is
deal.
like a big deal. And so, coincidentally, they had somebody that like did her history,
Yeah.
and then, so they were going through it. Well, they were like second cousins of mine. So that was really weird to find out. They wrote our family story, the history of our family story.
Oh, wow.
So I got to
And then
engrave
you're
the
the guy-
rock,
yeah.
and then they did the whole history. So it was kind of cool to see like this family dynamic.
It's a big
So
circle,
yeah, it was cool. So I've got to do a lot of cool projects like
nice.
that, and it gets a creative part of me that I didn't really know existed. So I get to mix that with people's businesses, and that's really the part that I love.
Mhm.
I love helping other businesses bring their logos to life, and so it's been cool. So, and to be trusted with somebody's logo
Yeah.
is pretty phenomenal as well, because there's a lot, you take pride in that. That's your identity for your business, for your company. It's your signature.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I know I've worked with you quite a bit over the years
Yeah.
since we became friends,
Yeah.
and I've worked with some other. I guess it's a print shop, but I mean, you do so much more than just print things.
Yeah.
But I've worked with a bunch of other companies over the years, and I know some of the stuff that sets you apart is, I mean, your customer service levels like crazy. I mean, you're like all over talking to people, and touching base and making sure that people are happy with things. And you don't get a lot of that, which now I know you kind of learned that.
Yeah, learned it.
Coming up with doing the other
good
jobs.
mentors.
And then you're really dedicated to making sure your quality level's there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
which is cool.
I look at every day as a chance to become a little better, you know, and that comes from being poor, never wanting to be that way again. So it's a mindset.
Level of pride.
Yeah, pride. Yeah, almost. Oh, you know, honestly, that was a thing that I've learned about myself over the last 2 years. That the pride turned into ego. So probably over the last 2 years, I got humbled, in a good way. So I'm kind of dealing with some humility. Like, man, I got a kind of a chip on my shoulder, a little bit of an ego, and so I got humbled, and that's been a good.
Do you ever find yourself looking at other people's work, or
all the time,
industry,
all the time? Yeah, it's something.
With the keen eye of
you pick it out. That could be done a little better.
Yeah.
My sister, who worked for us in our embroidery department for like 8 years, she'll send me pictures and go, "Look at this! Like, this is way off." And and so much so that her friends said, "You need to stop picking people's work apart. You know, you should probably go back to work for your brother because you're good at that and you can spot it." So I think that's cool to see that we've trained that into our people.
Sure.
Ways that they can get better and improve. So
just telling you a little bit. I've been there for 22 years there. Just the monotony of seeing that product every single day. You get numb to it.
Yep.
I go to boat shows or go to the marina or whatever, and you see all these different makes, and that's why I asked if you ever find yourself.
Yeah. You always look for ways for
other products.
Yeah. Yeah, that could have been done better.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite is when I'm like, oh man, that's
something
cool.
Blows you away.
Yeah, how'd they do that? Then you have to pick it apart. Now you start scratching at it to figure out what process they used.
That's cool.
So it is.
It's a good feeling, and you can you can feel the pride that somebody has put into something.
Yeah, and absolutely.
The talent level.
So,
it's all good.
What on that note, what do you think sets things apart the most for you? What catches your eye?
Just the final finish. Obviously that gets your eye to it. And then once you get that, then you start looking at the little flaws everywhere. Once you start looking deep into.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it sucks because I guess it'd be like a car builder or hot rods or stuff like that. You're always finding faults in somebody else's. It's almost turn it into a game or whatever.
Yeah. A challenge.
Yeah. But it's not out of malice or anything like that. You can't control it.
It's years of
your
experience.
passion. That's what you do.
Yep. I was just coaching a guy the other day, and he's like, "Oh, I can't put this out. It's not perfect." And I was like, man, perfection kills performance.
It does.
All the time. I said, the iPhone 1 didn't come with all the features of an iPhone 14. Yep. You have to put it out and then do a second iteration and a third iteration. Make it better and better.
And then the artist form of, because it is an art form. I consider it art form what you do with the engraving and stuff like that. It has a lot to say about art.
Yeah.
The old adage, the eye of the beholder, whatever like that. But it's the person doing the work is the one that never pleased with himself.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, too, when you're putting stuff out for a customer or whatever, the average person is probably not even noticing stuff that
you do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done stuff together, and you've been like, "Oh no, I don't like that at all," and I'm like, "I don't even know what you're talking about."
Yeah. What do you mean?
I don't
what do you mean? That looks perfect.
Well, you picked up those hats the other day for the ladies hunting thing, and you were all blown away that they're all 4 different. I'm like, I wasn't going to make them all the same.
That wasn't.
Yeah. So I was like, you're killing me with these one-offs, but it was killing me because I made 4 different renditions because one, you're a special person to me, so I wasn't going to put out something, like that. Like, again, it's your logo or your sayings.
Well, what was funny on that whole thing, though, is I was just doing a favor for my wife, and what she had sent me was literally like these $8 Temu hats that looked like somebody wrote on them with a Sharpie.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm sure that he could throw something like that out real quick. And we just got these.
Yeah.
I showed them to them, and they're like, now we're going to have to make sure to keep these. These are super nice.
That's the whole idea.
That's the whole idea. Yeah.
It was way above what I was expecting.
That's good. I did my job.
Yeah, but one of the other things that's different about you, the way that you do things, is you are really into innovation and trying new things, which has been great with us partnering up because I get ideas in my head that I don't know if they're possible even. And, I'll run stuff by you and you're like, I don't know if we can do that, but we'll try,
Let's give her hell, right?
We'll give it our best shot. But honestly, what allows me to do that is my team. Yeah. Like, I have a great graphic designer. My wife is, I always sell a deal and I'm not the one that follows up. Like, she is really the point of contact after that. I'm great face to face, but then I'm in coaching this person or that person. And so the emails are getting taken care of by her. We have a great embroidery team now. So it really, it's that I can come up with some ideas, but they're the ones that like keep pushing and pushing until it gets done right. But you've also let me play with it. Like, I remember this, one we were trying was this new liquid embroidery.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I can't even show you this proof from the manufacturer because it sucks so bad. So trust me that it's going to look cool. And you're like, I'll trust you. I'm like, if it doesn't look as cool as I have in my head, I won't charge you. And you're like, all right. And they came and they were like, how could I not love this? Yeah. And they were awesome. That's one of my favorite we've still done. Yeah. How metallic and puffed up and everything. It came out really awesome.
Yeah, and there's been lots of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, and then some of the stuff that you just play with just because you're like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. Like the freaking pumpkin pie, laser engraving a pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
And I think your videos actually went viral.
Yeah, I got written up on like 2 or 3 magazines because of that stupid stunt.
Didn't you bring one of those pumpkin pies to Christmas?
I did. Yeah, a couple of years in a row.
You did one for me for my friend's wedding.
Did you taste it?
I did not.
Oh, the burnt part is like my favorite. It like does something to the sugar, and so it like I don't know. It
maybe some kind of caramelization.
Caramelization. It tastes the best. It's like that's my favorite.
You said it makes the whole neighborhood smell.
It stinks so bad. It smells like burnt freaking pumpkin butthole or something. It's so bad. It's so bad. I've worked on our ventilation over the years, like to get that out, but that and like cowhide just reeks. But it's like skin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so gross. It's so gross. Oh man.
So I'm excited for you to be back so that we can
do this.
Some more crazy ideas.
Well, you've always been creative. Like you draw stuff and you're like, hey, I have this Bigfoot that's like chasing Barbie, or there's just always something you want done that's creative, and so it's fun.
I've been playing with Chat GPT a little bit.
Yeah.
Because my problem is I can envision stuff.
Yep.
And I can kind of draw out a rough idea of what I want, but getting it from there to what I really want it to look like is tough. And
AI is getting better, but it's still...
one of the things I've found with AI is because I'm a gun store, a lot of the stuff that I'm envisioning and wanting it to create, it sends back messages telling me, oh, I can't do that. I can't depict a violent scene, or I can't depict a firearm on this.
Right.
Or whatever, and it just drives me nuts.
I can only imagine. Oh, you're talking about that at launch today, too. Like, half your stuff gets pulled down off Facebook. It's nonstop struggle. Yeah. I think you're just in one of those industries that's just kind of like, it's like kind of red flagged. I mean, at least a caution flag on everything you do.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That makes it hard.
You just need to add Bibles to your inventory and sell those, and you'll be doubly banned.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I don't even get hit as hard as most stores because the word gun or firearms is nowhere in our title.
Right.
We fly under the radar a lot because the name of the business is Survival.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm lucky because of that, because I've got friends that own gun shops in other towns and stuff. And, I mean, they can't do anything without getting shut down on to stop. So,
well, you've always done a good job at marketing yourself and the company. I mean, people didn't know for a long time that you didn't own the store until recently.
yeah.
You're always been the face and going out, and man, the amount of stuff that you support, to be honest, is an inspiration to me. I'm like, man, he's in this, he's in that. So it's what you do for this community is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I've had to tone it down a little bit since I bought it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the pockets like we
Right,
did before.
right,
But
yeah.
Shit.
I try and do as much as I can.
Yeah. Welcome to this side of the table, buddy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a struggle sometimes. And the other thing that I realized is, I mean, there for a few months this year, actually, I had more people coming in the store asking me for money for donations
Right.
and stuff than I had customers coming in and buying stuff. And so now I've kind of started steering more towards, I'm going to help out. I'm going to help out as many people as I can. Not just because that's what I like to do.
Right.
But I'm going to prioritize the people that support my business before I throw people in there that
You give a little, you get a little.
would
Yeah.
never step foot in the store other than just to ask for money.
Right. Right.
And, and it's kind of sad because, I mean, not everybody needs to be into what I'm into or whatever.
Right.
But I want to make sure that I'm supporting the people that are supporting me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've geared towards now.
Makes the most sense. I mean, really.
Yeah. I'm going to take a break 1 second.
Okay. Did you see Pete?
Yeah.
Kill the robots.
I know, we're having a fucking great conversation. I didn't even have the mics on, dude.
I thought about that as you were leaning over into the mic. I'm like, why are you leaning over if we're not recording?
What the fuck?
Just missed all the good stuff. Nobody's gonna know how to survive the robot.
Yeah. That was what we were talking about, was freaking robots taking over, because we talk about ChatGPT.
The damn robot wouldn't have forgot to turn it on.
I know.
It would have sensed the voices.
They would never stop recording, dude, so they could hold it against you later.
Exactly. Sell your information.
That's why you always say please and thank you when you're at the chat GPT prompt.
Yeah.
Because you'll be the last one to die, because the robots will be like, yeah, he was nice to me. So
I will tell you, when I do anything Chat GPT, I'm like, Chat GPT, you are so special. Like, I kiss that. I kiss that thing's ass.
Jerking it off.
Oh,
Such
man.
pretty eyes.
Exactly.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
God.
Hey, when the robot overlords are here, you're going to be grateful
you're
that you were
regret
nice
it,
to them.
Yeah.
I'm getting prepared.
Because they'll give you the cushy job instead of making you work the silicon mines.
Oh man, it's too funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I try, but I'm not a tech savvy guy. I mean, I do my best. And people are like, "Oh, we got the podcast and you do all this stuff." I watch a lot of YouTube to figure this stuff out. I mean, it's
kind of
time-consuming.
something that I do is like since I have a huge retro gaming collection, my thought is, well, it's only a matter of time before one of my consoles or games has an issue and I should probably fix it. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on, cartridge repair and console repair. And I'm like, hey, I can do that. I can do soldering. Started looking into it and I'm like, oh, there's so many different options. I bought one of those cheap, like $15 soldering irons. No, to be fair, it was from Walmart.
Did you get what you paid for?
Oh, yes. Got less than I paid for.
What was the Xbox? I think it was the first gen that you could.
The Red Ring of Death?
Yeah.
The XBMC.
So,
mm-hmm.
This guy at my work, he's pretty savvy. He got my kid into it. And so they're going to all the secondhand stores trying to buy these so they could hot rod them and shit like that. And I think they got maybe 2 of them to work.
Out of how many?
Probably like 10,
Oh, it's so funny.
Now I've noticed. Now the thing is, all these online, they're showing these like, it's like a cartridge or whatever you can put into any retro game system, and all of a sudden you've got like
1,000
every
games,
game or whatever.
Those have been around a while, actually. They have these like 9,001 Nintendo carts. They're like bootleg ones you get that are like, super cheap. And
Do they actually work?
I mean, technically, yes, but I would not trust one in my console just because Lord only knows what kind of craziness it's going to do to your console, or if it's getting around the lockout chip because one of the things they did was I guess they would over voltage the lockout chip on some of these unlicensed cartridges to bypass it on the original Nintendo.
Huh.
And so it's basically sending a shock to that chip. And if it's doing that on a continual basis, I can't imagine that'd be good for the chip the system entirely. So I'd rather just go with legit chips and legit cartridges.
Wah, wah.
So what's the
Game over.
The Wii system? Is that
The Nintendo Wii?
I think.
Yeah.
So I have one still at the house that Mark and my son, they got that to work. They had an external hard drive for it. It has every fucking game you can think of.
Mike uses it to work out.
Yeah, I'm sure. Tennis.
I love the hunting and fishing game on that.
Honestly, I really got a kick out of the boxing. That was always fun.
The boxing, yeah.
Me and my brother going back and forth.
It's funny.
That was one of the main ones that they got to work was that system. Tearing it apart and doing whatever the hell they did.
Oh, that's
so you said you got a retro game system collection.
Yeah.
Do you have like a fancy shelf in your living room with like all these old consoles?
Okay, so
what's the oldest one?
Oldest one I have is technically an ATF TV Fun, which was one of those Pong clones from the 70s. Mm-hmm. My grandpa John actually gave it to me because he had it sitting in his closet forever. He bought it when it came out, for the kids, because that would have been when my dad was a teenager.
They had Pong and the tank game, and that was about it.
I don't even think I had tank game. It was like 10 different variations of Pong depending on which switch you flipped.
My first console system that we ever had was an Intellivision.
Intellivision.
That actually had interchangeable cartridges, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we had, I think when my dad bought it, I was in like first grade. But when he bought it, it came with like 4 games. We had like, Burger Time USA and
they're preparing you for your first job.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of them. But anyways, yeah, that was the first console. And then our first computer was a Tandy 1000.
Tandy.
We never did get a computer when I was a kid.
Really?
No.
Oh,
we got
man.
the Atari and then my Atari 64 or whatever.
Yep.
And then we got a satellite dish. The
big one? Yeah.
So
the hand crank version.
Yeah, my
how
dad
big was that thing?
It was huge, 14 feet. I think.
Jeez.
And like you said,
it's still out behind your house, isn't it?
No, we
it takes up half an acre.
But he didn't want to pay. I think it was like $200 for the auto changer, electric motor.
Mm-hmm.
So we had all the little decibels on there. So
oh my
22.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So middle of a rainstorm, he's out there
changing. One more crank. You're not there yet.
Oh my God!
Still too much static. Keep going.
Make the damn lines line up.
Kids these days will never understand.
Don't make me walk out there.
the rabbit ears with the tinfoil on top, and
having to manually change the channel with the dial instead of actually using a remote.
That was the only thing I knew how to understand in Spanish. My dad taught us how to get him a cup of coffee and change the channel.
The volume. Turn it up.
When he was mad, he'd say it in Spanish, so I knew how to understand those words.
Más. More.
Oh, man. It's funny.
Yeah, that was cool, though, I think. Everybody could have TV.
Yeah.
As long as you could manipulate the rabbit ears good enough.
Yeah, good enough. Yeah.
And then all the special tricks to get more
channels.
Yeah.
Yep. Then you had the VHS and the Betamax. Yeah. And then came DVD and Blu-ray. And what was the other one? There was a high def, like the HD
DVD, competitor to Blu-ray.
Yep.
Was that the records?
No,
that's Laserdisc.
Laserdisc. They didn't last long.
They didn't last long.
There's surprisingly some that are still around that work just fine.
Yeah, you guys were talking about collectible stuff.
Yeah.
There's a market for that.
There is a market for that.
You want to know what's even worse, like degradation-wise, is the CEDs, which was similar to Laserdisc. They came in a plastic cartridge. You had to load the cartridge into the machine. It would pull this disc out. It was like a vinyl that did some kind of analog recording. Yeah, it wasn't very popular. It came out around the same time as Laserdisc. I don't remember all the details about it, but I watched several YouTube videos about it because I went down that rabbit hole. And it's compact electric diode or something is what the CED stands for. And it uses some kind of electric diode or something to read the disc. and it's notorious for like they will just stop working overtime.
Yeah.
Like they were made of such poor quality that they even like factory sealed, still brand new, old stock. You pop it in and it's going to have skips and stuff like that. You know, like if you have a CD that's all scratched up, same type of deal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think, it's probably the same with every generation, but in our lifetimes, we've watched so much
Technology.
Oh, so much.
Technology is
just
almost daily. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. What's cool is the time length of how long something is cool is shortened so much because something new is out. You know, in the 80s, you had like Mongoose and the BMX bikes. Those were popular for a long time. And then Huffy ruined that, you know. But, yeah. But all that stuff is now coming back. You see some of the old...
Lots of retro stuff.
A lot of retro stuff and remakes.
Well, you know what it is? It's because now technology is still evolving, but it's not visual.
Right.
I mean, it's Chat GPT.
Yep.
It's AI stuff.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you can see the difference from in my app. My app works different now.
Right.
Or whatever. It's not like a physical thing you can touch that's totally different.
Yeah.
It's not the difference between a fucking rotary phone and taking a freaking 15 gig picture out of a freaking cell phone. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. When our parents would film like a football game, the reel-to-reel or the thing was, you know, it looked like you were supposed to be filming for CNN. You know, that thing was so huge. And now it's just, you could do it with your phone and, you know, it's in your pocket and you can calculate and you can email and you can text. It's all in one little box.
I was just talking to one of my employees because he films, like every time he goes shooting and stuff, he films it all and he does awesome. We use a lot of his content. And I was like, dude, I go out and I'll do something, and then afterwards I'm like, fuck, I should have
filmed that. Yep.
And but he goes out and he like sets up a tripod, and he like his camera. That's the whole purpose of it. And he goes, it's really time consuming because I thought about getting like a camera and having it already set up. This way, when I go out, I could just pull it out and stand it up, and it's good to go. And then we were talking, and basically the reason he doesn't is because cameras don't take as good of pictures as your phone does.
Right,
anymore.
right. And it's just convenient.
You can do more. Like if you're a photographer, you can do amazing things. But if you're just using
a content person,
video, it's not even close to the same quality.
I suck at that. Like I am awful at content production. Like I want to get in and get the thing done.
You do good stuff. It's just hard to.
It's hard. You got to stop and you have to be methodical about it. And I just want to get the job done and get my customer taken care of. And like,
well, I was talking to Jacob.
Yeah.
And because they were wanting to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I said, maybe you guys should just put a little cell phone mount on every machine. And then when you walk up to do your job and you're setting your phone down anyways, then all you got to do is just fucking hit.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Just go prepared, you know? Yeah.
Every once in a while you might want to change where it's mounted at.
Yeah.
So that you're not getting the same angle on every single thing. But I was like, at least this way you're going to have a lot of content. You might not use it all.
Right.
But it makes it so that you don't have to think about setting it up.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's I think those are good little skills and hacks that I can take and use. I like that.
Just thinking outside the box once in a while.
Got to do that.
So do you, Josh, do you play modern video games too?
Modern wise, I mostly do PC gaming. Yeah. So,
I think that's what everybody's going to now, mostly. I
mean, essentially with the consoles nowadays, they're basically just single function computers. What they've got nowadays, ever since I want to say since PS3 and up, it's
everybody plays through like Steam, so you're playing against people with computers and.
Well, yeah, I mean Steam on PC, but you know, with the actual consoles, they have their own special like multiplayer network. Some games might allow interconnectivity between consoles and PCs depending on the game, but a lot of console users that use joysticks rather than the keyboard and mouse complained about like these online shooters where the people with keyboard and mouse are typically better because you have more accuracy with keyboard and mouse doing, you know, first person shooters. So
way faster.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, cheating, aimbot, cheating. It's like, yeah, no, you're just Get gooder.
Way over my head.
But
get gooder. Get gooder.
I'm gooder than you, fucker. Guess what? You're dead.
Oh man.
So tech guys are not educated.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's so funny. It's like what's his name? It said "get her done." That's a new catchphrase. Get gooder.
Get her at your
I love it.
Yeah, that's a shirt.
Well, one of my employees
Get
plays computer games too. He's really into Helldivers right now.
yeah, I heard that one's pretty good. I just don't have the time between my actual 9-to-5 job. Well, not exactly 9-to-5, but you know what I mean. The standard regular job and running the business with my sister, and then also trying to deal with, chores around the house and to-do lists around the house. There's
Get
a lot
gooder.
of stuff. Yeah.
Get gooder.
That's
Well,
how
I
this-
can get
that's
as
how
good
this
as I
podcast
want, but
got
there's
its
only
name.
24 hours in a day, and I still need sleep.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's how this podcast got its name.
yeah.
Yeah, I was joking around about
Spare time.
in all my spare time I'm going to start a podcast, and then when
Whatever,
it came time to think of a name, I was like, I'm just going to call it spare
Spare time. I love it. This is what I do with my spare time.
Yeah.
And now you have to make the spare time
Yeah,
to do the
to
spare
to do
time.
the spare
Oh
time.
god, dude,
Yeah.
I do. I'm like, talk about being like multi.
Yeah. So how do you balance that? Like how do you create the time in the day to do this? Because it's not just today. Then you got to edit, and you got to post, you got to.
I don't know. My day starts earlier. It lasts longer.
He's a freaking workaholic.
Right.
I make myself work lists all the time,
Yeah.
and like the things I enjoy doing,
You do less of.
I do last.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I can't do that until I get this
Right.
and this done. So it's just discipline, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
then
would say
also the
discipline.
fact of the matter is, everything else I do besides this impacts the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I
It's-
prioritize that all.
Right.
It's pretty neat, just watching him. I've learned, he's taught me quite a bit. We'll be out randomly hunting, driving around, whatever, and he's always got a pad of paper and a note. I got to write that down. And you're like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
That instinct of
constantly.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget this. I got to write it down. And
For a long
This is
time,
a
I
good
carried a
idea.
journal like that all the time, but I forgot to write it down. I even had the pad and pen in there. Yeah, I think you just have to create that habit of doing that. So it sounds like you got that habit kind of down.
pretty dedicated.
Yeah, it's hard to stay on task though. It's hard to keep that way all the time. And then when I get home on my couple hours before I go to sleep, I just kind of shut my brain off,
Mhm.
dude. Sometimes I'll get stuck TikToking.
Yeah,
for,
right.
For an
Scrolling.
hour or
Yeah.
two, and next thing I know, I'm like up late, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to go to sleep.
There's so much talent on there, though.
The problem is, I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, in those couple hours, if you've got it down to where you only have 2 to 4 hours of wasted time a day, where you're just winding down
Mhm.
before bed or
Mhm.
having your cup of coffee in the morning, I think you're on the upper level of people.
Oh yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
think the majority of people have 8 to 10 hours a day that they're just
wasted.
wasting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And-
Waste, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, if those couple hours you want to freaking be on TikTok or freaking whatever it is that you're into, playing video games, doing whatever, that's what you need to do to freaking maintain your sanity.
Yep, sanity.
But the sucky part is I start scroll. I found that if I'm scrolling on TikTok and I try to go to bed, it's harder to fall asleep.
yeah,
Like my brain won't
Mhm.
shut off. Whereas if I'm just zoned out on a show and then I turn it off and go to bed, I just feel right to sleep.
same effect. Yeah. same
So
effect.
I've been trying to not do that as much. But I also don't have a hard time going to sleep. A long time for me to fall asleep is like 15 minutes.
I don't even really like most TV shows anymore. I actually like the content that people put out and like the inspiration from like their journey or whatever kind of just influences me. And that's probably what happens to you. Now you're all pumped up for this person
Yeah.
because you can relate,
Well, what's funny with like TikTok is every day you don't know which rabbit hole it's going to take you.
yeah.
Like some days I'll get on TikTok and it's like, I'm pretty sure it's just like people trying to get me to go to their OnlyFans. And I'm like, I could care less about this shit.
Well, to be fair, that's probably like 80% of the content on TikTok.
Yeah. And then other days it's like nonstop stand-up comedy.
Right.
I'm like
That-
my ass
I
off.
think that's the cool thing about it too, is if you do want to look something specifically up, and so you can type it in.
You can type it in.
Everything that you scroll to is going to be that content.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people that do
Then
that,
you get bored and you go to something else.
you
And
got to let it organically take
just
you.
build
where
your
it takes you.
algorithm up. Can't be midget porn all the time. You know?
That's what the OnlyFans is
Oh,
for.
man,
Yeah.
so funny.
But yeah, it's and I have a lot. I've found that I probably because of my Googling and YouTube for stuff for work is like I'll get lots of Chat GPT hacks and Canva
Right.
hacks and different things that I
Yeah.
use for work, and I'm like saving that stuff. And then I got to try and look through 50 million things that
To find the thing. Yeah,
There it is.
same. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I've learned a lot of stuff that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. My wife has learned a million recipes.
Oh, I love the
things
recipes.
in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Plants.
Oh yeah, plants, dude. That's all I freaking. I live in a jungle.
You
so
got a pretty green office, I must say.
His house is
they
a
love it in
jungle.
here, dude. But
That's
I'm not a plant guy. That's my wife.
hey, it
These plants
softens
in my
it.
office love it.
It
All I do is
softens
water
it.
'em.
You just share the house with them. They're roommates.
Yeah,
They got to eat and drink too.
yeah. All I do is water them. And anytime ugly looking leaves pop out, I'll freaking rip them off. Otherwise, that's about it.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh. So, you were saying business was going good. You moved down here. COVID hit.
Yeah.
I remember you and I were both talking when that first kicked off.
Yeah.
And we were both super nervous about what it was going to do to business.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, for both of our businesses, it was incredible.
It was incredible. Yeah. So that's, I think, a lot of, I left that. I never did a good job explaining that. So the first couple weeks we were freaked out. We didn't know what was
you
really
laid everybody
going.
off.
I laid everybody off. The state of Oregon basically told us to.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go
You're
home. You got to
dictated
be,
to,
stay safe. And,
Actually, the state of Oregon never said that.
2 weeks to
That was
flatten the
just on
curve.
internet. You just chose to believe it.
oh, yeah, I guess. I guess. So we laid everybody off and we watched the news for a few weeks and that got old. You know, it was just the same old story every day. And you look around and you're like, hey, do you know anybody? Oh, well, my second cousin's second mother, has it. But like, it was very quick that I understood that we weren't all going to die.
Mhm.
There was people that were getting sick. But other than that, it was not what I think that we were told it was. And so after a few weeks of just kind of watching the news and whatever, Andy and I decided to go back to work, and we had an online Amazon store and Etsy store. And we turned this hoodie that holds your beer from a hangover hoodie into a quarantine hoodie. And you have all these 21-year-olds, all these people at home that are drinking. They have all this extra stimulus money. And that freaking quarantine hoodie popped off. We sold $30,000 in hoodies in 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now I need to staff back, so we started calling the staff and
they were like, fuck yeah, I'll come back to work.
some of them were and some of them weren't
Yeah.
because they were getting all this extra money to stay at home.
Definitely.
And what do you do? You don't want to mess with people's livelihood. So if they didn't want to come back, we were just like, okay. And so we ran short staffed, but Amazon and Etsy we were just flourishing. And then it took a little longer for local business to pick back up, except you, because everybody was buying a gun because nobody knew what was going on. And they had extra money. So,
You know what was funny is not only that, but I mean, my store was packed every day.
it was packed.
And it was other people that think like I do. And my whole thought process on COVID was, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any of it.
I don't think so.
I didn't follow any guidelines that were recommended. And when people asked me why I wasn't doing anything, I was like, nope, not a single official person has told me anything. I said, you people are shutting your businesses down and locking yourself in your bedroom based off of what you read on Facebook.
Right.
I was like, and
Or
I'm not going to do that.
newspaper somewhere.
Honestly, it was my wife that really kind of opened my eyes on it because she told took this stand and was like, I've been pushed around most of my life. I ain't doing it anymore. And I was like, whoa. So we were getting kicked out of Biomart. We were getting kicked. So the only place that didn't throw her out was Fred Meyer's. And so we became loyal Fred Meyer shoppers. And there was people all around Oregon saying the same thing. And so it quickly became known as Freedom Myers. And so that's where we did all our shopping. Then we started to vacation a little bit, and you'd land in Austin and nobody had a freaking mask on. Even in Austin, it was like their own little community, and you were like, oh man, fresh air and da-da-da. So we visited probably 5 times, and we were like, the masks thing was not lifting here. The local business hadn't really recovered for us, but online was booming. And I was like, well, if we move, basically our shipping will pay for the move because we'll save so much on shipping being Midwest versus coastal. And so we did. We packed up. The staff moved with us. We got there and things didn't go according to plan. Most people don't know, but we had a falling out with the company that we kind of merged with there that were supposed to take over our printing after like 10 days. Oh, shit. So staff hasn't even arrived yet. It's just me and Andy and a trailer load of equipment. And we had a truckload coming of the rest of the inventory and everything. So we have a falling out with them. 10 days. We just painted the whole space. We ran electrical. We packed back up. We found another warehouse about 35 minutes away from that one and moved into that one. And it was ours. But the problem was they had some of the printing stuff that we sold to the guys when we sold our business. So I told her, I said, we can pack up and go home, or I need equipment to be able to do what we're doing. And she said, you find the equipment, I'll start writing checks. And so we bought everything again and set back up. And about 2 weeks later, the rest of our stuff showed up. The staff came. They made it 6 months before the heat of Texas got them.
So enough. I'm leaving.
They had enough.
Yeah.
Most of these warehouses don't have AC in Texas, which shocked the crap out of me. How could anybody be in a warehouse? They have big fans. Yeah. And so, like, we're not used to the heat. And then you got a big fan pushing hot air. It wasn't that comfortable. So I understood the staff moving back.
You could have just had super casual Fridays where they just came in their undies. That might have solved the problem.
It looks like a drug lab.
Right? We actually hired an old employee to fly in from Portland during Christmas, and she landed, and she was wearing flip-flop shorts and a tank top through Christmas. It was that warm in Texas that, like, it was just another 60-degree day in Oregon. So she was used to that. Yeah. That was a hot Christmas for her. So they moved home in March, and a couple months later, Andy and I bought a house about 4 hours north. And so it was a big, huge property with a house and a big shop. So we moved into there, and with the algorithmic changes, with the economy changes, we started to notice our online business sliding, and it didn't matter what we did, how much fuel we put on the fire, ads, you name it. We tried it. We could not get the nose to kind of pull up. And that combined with the opportunity to buy back our business here, we just kind of jumped on it and sold our house. It was only on the market like 22, 24 days, something like that. And Matt Coal is one of my good friends here. He flew out with one of the previous owners of C-Stack. He flew out, helped us pack up, and then they made the drive back with us like 2 weeks ago. So I think I've been here just over 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And, Texas wasn't all bad, though.
No.
I watched your adventures over there. You got to see some cool stuff, and you got really healthy while you were there.
Yeah, I lost about 115 pounds over the last couple of years, and it was like it was like hitting pause on life and exploring a little bit. It helped my wife and I connect better.
Total reset.
Total reset. Yeah. So our customers have been really, really cool and understanding. I don't think I did a good job explaining like the kind of the pain we were in with losing my brother a couple years back. And the one person that kind of helped me through that was our employee, Mike. Him and I became really close.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike died unexpectedly in a Harley accident 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of crushed me. And right before that, Andy had lost her grandfather. And then like the week before that, a friend of hers who was like 33 had a heart attack and died. So it was like 4 deaths in 2 years, and 3 of them were like just months apart. And it was like, I just want something new.
Yeah.
And so I think in a lot of ways we might have ran, just hit the gas and took off. But it was good. It was an adventure.
That's what you needed.
It was what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did what made us healthy and got some of our sanity back and allowed us to kind of see what was important. And by the grace of God, we've been accepted back into the community with open arms. And it doesn't feel like 2 years went by, to be honest. It feels
It's like you were just gone.
it
for
was
the
like I
weekend.
was just gone for the weekend. It was
was a
so
long
weird.
vacation.
It was like a long vacation.
Right?
So the guys stewarded the business for us, and one of them stayed on, and so he's going to continue to work for us, and so that's good. It's been a good transition. So yeah, it's been really, like I said, humbling in a lot of ways, but we got to try something not a lot of people, I think, would ever do. So success or failure, I don't know. We'll find out one day what it was, but it was something. It was an adventure.
If you get something out of it, it's nice.
Yeah, I think so. We met a lot
You
of
might
great
not have got
people.
what you wanted out of it, but you got something out of it.
Yeah, we got something out of it. We got a lot, I think, out of it. We met some great people. And the weird thing is at the time we decided to move, we had met like 4 other couples and became really close with them through our church, and they were all moving. So all at the same time, 3 of us listed our houses like a week apart. And so it was just kind of like, okay, it's time to open our wings again and fly
Find your
home.
way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's cool.
yeah,
Well, I'm glad that you're back.
I
And
appreciate
you
that.
and I have become pretty good friends
Yes.
over the years, and I'm not good at long distance friendships.
No,
I mean,
I think it's
I'm-
hard.
I'm horrible at actually calling people or any of that stuff. So I'm
All your
I'm
spare
one of those
time.
guys that's like, hey, let's have lunch.
Yeah,
Type of guy.
yeah.
And now we can do that again.
We can do
I think
that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I look forward to it.
So you have an actual walk-in storefront.
We will eventually. I'm about 80% set up in the shop. We're able to fulfill orders. We're still working on some procedural, like final places where things will go to rest. And then my house is only like 20% set up. So if you combine them, it's 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we moved back into one of the houses that we owned that was attached to our building. We're in the process of remodeling that. So we got that painted. We're doing some repairs, and then we're looking for a house. So if anybody knows of a nice house with a couple acres, we're looking, and then we'll just rent that back out, and it'll be nice fresh paint and all redone. So
Sweet.
yeah, it's been good. It was nice to have something that was familiar to come home to too. So yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's still in a disarray like it was before you left.
We're working on all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool. It's been a neat transition. The guys had figured some stuff out that I never would have thought of. So that's cool to come back and have some new techniques that I didn't know. And then we brought some back as well. And so we're merging and learning together. So that's been pretty neat because I've never had that before. I was always the idea guy, and everybody else kind of made me shine figuring it out. And so now we're all kind of getting to lift each other up. So that's pretty neat to have.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I know working with Jacob a little bit, he has that passion for it too, like you do.
Yeah.
He talked to me a lot about when they went to one of the
shows. Yeah.
and he was super excited about some of the stuff that was there, and super excited about some equipment that he couldn't afford,
Right.
and stuff like that. But it's neat when you're not the only one inspired by things.
Yeah.
It's neat to be surrounded by other people that are inspired by the same kind of things you are,
Yeah.
because they pick up on things that you don't, and vice versa. And you get so much more out of things when you have someone to talk to about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that shares your passion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're trying to if you're talking to me about some stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah.
You know, but,
No.
But I mean, if you're talking to someone else that's interested in it, they're going to be asking you questions, and it's just neat.
I think it's going to help push us forward, honestly, because now we get somebody that understands what I'm trying to do, and his embroidery skills are phenomenal. I thought my sister was great. He has a little bit more knowledge on one aspect that she didn't have. And so today, we're working this morning to correct something. And so even having that is like, it's just cool. It's again, I was able to do and pull some of this off by having a great team. And so now I feel like, man, I got one more addition to that team that I didn't have before. And so, I look forward to it.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's always good to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's that between that, having good employees and then good companies to work for that allow us to kind of bring their logos to life. Like I said earlier, I'm excited about that part again because we haven't, for 2 years, we didn't do business to business. So it's for me, I love sales. I love being out with people and meeting and greeting. And in Texas, I didn't do a lot of that. It was just fulfilling the online orders as they came in daily and nightly. And so I didn't get to talk to a lot of people. So this has been, like I said, a warm welcome home. And we picked up a lot of business over the last 2 weeks of being home just by making some phone calls and some lunches. And so, yeah.
It's got to make you feel good, though.
It does. Know? Yeah. Yeah. It goes to, I think, the quality and the respect that our company had and
Sure.
stuff like that. So it's been.
Well, I don't know how other businesses are, but I mean, I try and work pretty close with people that I work with.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money to work with someone that I'm comfortable working with.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a lot more money, but you know, if it costs, you know, $8 instead of $7 to do something, but this guy I can actually talk to, and understands my way of working, you know, it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
So, and you and I have always been good with that. I mean, I'll throw things at you and I'm like, and you're like, well, what do you really want? And I'm like, whatever, just come up with something. Give me some ideas, you know, and that works. And sometimes I've got a real specific idea what I want. And you're like, okay. And then you've brought me things and you're like, I don't think this is quite it, but this is where I'm at right now. And tell me where you want me to go with it. And I think that works out great.
I'm working with a guy right now, same thing. He ran his logo through AI. He's like, it's almost there, but I don't know what else to instruct it with. And I said, well, give me what you got. Tell me what you're trying to do so I can give it to my designer and she'll give me some feedback and let me know how much time it might take to get the logo from where it's at to where you want it. And so that's half the battle anymore. AI is great, but it won't always get you all the way there. But it'll give you a concept and it'll give me a concept and then we can tweak it from there.
Well, they were saying one of the biggest job opportunities for the future is a prompt writer or whatever. People that just come up with prompts for AI.
You just got to kiss its ass.
Yeah.
You are the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I don't know. It's
not survive without
you. It gets frustrating and overwhelming sometimes because I mean, in order to evolve and not have like a real stagnant business, you have to try some of these new things.
Yes.
And but they're not always friendly for somebody that's hasn't tried that stuff before.
Right. Well, we're seeing that on Amazon. That's part of the sales decrease that we saw was they installed this AI to help shoppers shop, but it doesn't understand how shoppers shop. It has to learn how shoppers shop. And so they turn it on, then they turn it off, they turn it on to learn. And so it's this constant, every day is a different, like we don't have the consistent sales that we had for 6-7 years. And obviously there's the spike with COVID, but before even COVID, there was a consistency and that's not there. It's just this hills and valleys almost every other day.
Yeah.
So we can always tell when they turn it on because the sales are gone because it's learning that day. So
another thing I've noticed with Amazon is they have a lot of, if you look and you're searching for something, it's going to just feature a bunch of these no-name random Chinese brands rather than brands you're actually familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's like Nanyu, spelled NANAAOOOOU. And it's like they just slam their fingers across the keyboard to come up with these company names. Yep. And that's what they feature because Amazon gets it cheaper from the Chinese manufacturers. And
it's trying to learn whether people are going after cheap or they're going after quality. And so it's showing you these two different days, different users. It'll show you two different things to see your buying habits to learn. And that's where we're finding our stuff is typically more expensive. And so depending on the day, it's ranked either low or it's ranked high. And we can't control that. Like you used to be able to throw ad money and get your stuff out there in front of people, but now they're just taking your ad money anyway and still doing this. So we had I had a good friend in Texas, and Facebook went through a similar thing where they blew a $5,000 ad budget in 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it went on for a few days. And I don't know if you have Reddit or not, but my Reddit was going off. Like, I mean, like you would have thought the Civil War had started. The Reddit was just going off with all these people. My ad money was spent in 22 minutes, 3 hours. People complaining. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're just sucked up. And who do you call? Who do you talk to? You can't. Talk to
good luck finding that phone number for Facebook customer support.
Yeah.
How may I help you?
Yeah. How may I help you? Yeah.
That's even more than what Facebook does. They don't even have anybody to answer the phones.
You can't talk to anybody at Facebook.
So at the end of the day, it's created opportunity in other places for us. And so that's what life is, right? You're just looking for the next opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's just part of it. It's just a journey. So I've learned to enjoy it.
Yeah. So, somewhere along your journey through all this stuff, you became super into like motivation and inspirational stuff. And, like you started even before you, left for Texas or any of that stuff, you started where you were posting motivational or reposting motivational speeches and sayings. And, I love that stuff.
Thank you.
By the way.
Thank you.
Not just from you. I love it in general.
Yeah, I love it in general
half of my TikTok stuff is and if it's in Morgan Freeman's voice,
that makes it
even better. Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Nah, too many F-bombs.
But no, you got really into the motivational and inspirational stuff. And I know when you were over in Texas, you even started doing like your morning walks with your dog.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. What kind of led to that?
Confidence. I think the humility of the whole journey, I think, brought it out a little bit. The loss of my brother. My brother pushed me all the time to do dumb shit.
Mornings.
Losing him made life real. Like, holy crap, there is an end and you don't know when that is. And
100%. Eye-opening.
It is. It's totally eye-opening. And he pushed me all the time to do the craziest stuff. He wasn't my real brother. He was my best friend since we were 6. Mm-hmm. And we became brothers through life and 30 plus years, 33 years of being best friends. And at one point, he lived with me at my parents. And at another point, I lived with him at his parents. And neither of our parents were that great. But you had to go somewhere. We had each other, and he left for the military after 9/11 and did 3 tours in Iraq, and he just was always willing to do this kind of outside the box. I was really reserved. I was always scared of stuff, and he always pushed me, to do crazy stuff. That's how I learned to fight. On top of it being always picked on, he picked on me more, and he's like, come on, bring it, and so I just learned all that stuff from him. And once he died, I realized like life is temporary. So make of it what you want, and it's a choice. And so I started making the decision that I was going to live my life to the fullest, and fishing here helped as well. I fell in love with fishing, and it inspired me to get outside. It inspired me to lose the weight I had lost. And then people just kind of kept saying, man, I watched your video this morning. That just kept me going, and that pushed
hooked.
me. You get
hooked because somebody else.
And I still struggle with the video part. So I started doing the morning walks, and I was posting it. And I haven't posted one in a while. I think, to be 100% real, the struggles I was going through in Texas, I don't think that I wanted to be like, if I was honest about it, then I had to accept it as well, like how tough things were at the time. Yeah. And so I just kind of internalized it, and I kind of pulled away from that. I was like, I'll get through this, but I wasn't ready to do it in front of other people. And I had a buddy that called me out on it. He became like a brother in Texas, and he's like, man, you got to tell people what you're going through. You got like somebody else going through the same thing. Vocalize it. You're going to help somebody.
Yeah.
And
I know you struggled a lot with, because you very much put the attitude out there before you left as the grass is going to be greener over there.
Yeah.
You very much
I
had
thought.
that. And then it got there, and it was a shit show.
It was a shit show from literally 10 days after. And that I didn't post about that, but I also didn't want to call the other couple out, because I was as much to blame. So what happened was I used a piece of equipment that was theirs without asking. And it was the same piece of equipment I had here. They were struggling to print some of our bags. So I had my sister overnight some product so we could test it. It showed up. We'd all went to dinner. I'd forgot about it. When we got back, I was like, oh, that material showed up. Let me run a tester. I ran a tester, and coincidentally at like 10 o'clock, they came in, and I was using his piece of equipment, and shit hit the fan. And I honestly didn't consider his feelings about his piece of equipment. It was just a miscommunication and an overstep on my part of using somebody else's equipment. And I was so used to having my own shop, my own equipment, not having to ask anybody. I misstepped, and we just couldn't come to an agreement on the apology of what he thought was acceptable. And
what more would he want than an apology?
I don't know. I still don't know. Compensation or something.
Yeah. $50 for the whatever ink or energy was used.
Yeah.
Or...
I mean, I don't know.
What?
We ended up moving. And so that kind of, I thought if we were apart, then there's no more to the story. Right. Yeah. And like 8 months later, they went out of business. So that was kind of a sad deal. So it's just the way that it went.
Well, and then I think learning lessons doesn't have to be about pointing fingers at people.
No, not at all.
That part doesn't matter.
That's the I think what I'm trying to get to is that it didn't matter. I overstepped. We corrected. We got to the other shop. A month later, my staff showed up. It was hot as shit. They couldn't really adapt, and then they went home, and like I didn't share any of this because I was almost embarrassed.
Yeah,
because we gotten to that point where
it's
like
hard not to look at it as a failure.
Yeah,
you know, and that's just human nature.
Right, right. And it was. I think it was a failure.
And you were riding that wave of success after success after success.
Yeah, and then I just got gut punched.
But then it's you know, you got that's learning. That's
Yeah,
turn that failure into
I should have shared, but then I think that if I would have shared it, I would have had to accept it at that time, and I wasn't ready to accept.
Yeah.
So we just kept pushing
100%.
forward and pushing forward and pushing forward, and I just sometimes you push forward and you don't have to have people give you a high five, like you're just going to push through regardless. And I think that's where I got. I didn't want anybody to say, "Look at you," or I didn't want anybody to look at me because I was in the shit. I was like, I didn't want everybody to see the mud on my face and all that. And but the funny thing was I could breathe, even though I was in the shit. I could breathe better than I'd breathed in a long time. There was other stresses that were not there that I had here, but at the same time, it was not the green pasture like you said that I had thought, envisioned.
However you want to word it,
Yeah. You COVID was rampant when I left here, and we were all in masks. Well, you weren't, but everybody else was being told you had to be, and so that thought and getting my wife off my back about going grocery shopping and not having a mask on, and labor was supposed to be better there, but by the time we actually got there, all these other corporations had moved as well.
Sure.
And so they were paying big bucks because it was small bucks to them compared to what they had to pay in California or Washington. And so the labor had kind of been swallowed up. And so once my staff left, it was Andy and I for 18 months. We ended up only ever hiring one temporary person in the first warehouse, and then we moved, and then a second gal in our second. And that was coincidentally 3 months before we moved again. And so moving back, this is the first time I've had employees technically like full time for 2 years. And I'm like, man, I can get out and I can do this. I got out and I did an event last night. I got it's freed me up and again, humbled me that now I have an appreciation for what they're doing while I'm out being able to do this stuff. So... yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that all along the way, you have kept trying to at least, and I think you probably do it more for yourself than you do for anybody else, as far as posting the motivational stuff and that. And I've always taken inspiration from it. And I always consider you like a cheerleader for me.
Oh, thank you.
So,
I'm cheering for everybody, really. I mean... there's enough work. There's enough everything for everybody. And I think growing up poor, I was always told, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, it's made of paper. Technically, it's coming. You know what I mean? But there's an abundance of everything out there. It's whether you go out and find it. Honestly, it's guys like you that have inspired me. When you go hunting or fishing, you go out with the intention of catching something that might not be possible that day. Mm-hmm. You go hunting. You didn't go catching. Mm-hmm. You did. There's just no guarantee to things, and so it's an inspiration to me being around guys like you that hunt. These guys that go mushrooming and all this it's the same concept as running a business. You do not know that you're going to succeed, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I try to inspire everybody to have that same belief.
That's pretty much the definition of inspired, that it's admirable to see what he does and, meeting people like you and listening to your guys' stories. I love it. Mm.
Yeah. Keeps me going. I like it. I have learned to try and make a little time for myself, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the podcast came from.
Right.
I enjoyed being on the radio for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, how could I keep that going? And I was just started the podcast just so I could do something fun for me.
How many episodes are you at now?
I've aired 25, I think.
Okay. What's been the hardest part for you?
Learning all the technical part of it.
Right.
Wait a minute. I thought he was doing the interview.
Yeah, exactly.
The learning curve, the very first one, we sat here and I've listened to Carlos say that he's wanted to do this for so many years, He's like, hey, I got this cool equipment. You got to come down and check this shit out. And so we're like, all right. He goes, let's do this. And so we sat here. What did we do it 4 fucking times? And we didn't record anything.
Just the practice
and stuff. No, It was going wrong.
So it just you forgot to record.
Yeah,
Thought you were recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a kind of a long day. That was awesome though. And he got to learn a bunch of stuff, and we got to sit and bullshit.
Right.
Say the same stories over and over and over. It was kind of funny,
That's the cool part about it, though. Is like success comes from all the failures.
Yeah. Well, and
it was great.
Honestly, it's been fun. I mean, the goofy screw ups and the learning opportunities have given me stuff to laugh about, and every time I'm forced to figure out a solution to one of these things. It's just one more thing in my little arsenal that I have, and I really like learning new stuff. So
Right.
I mean, I think it's fun. And, but yeah, I mean, learning all the stuff and making myself keep creating time to do it is
Right.
probably the hardest parts of it, though. Because, I mean, there's lots of times when I'm like, man, I just kind of want to take the week off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get, when I started out, and I didn't want to start until I had like 6 episodes banked, so that if something does come up,
You have a fill-in.
you know, I can keep it going. Because like anything, consistency is what creates success.
Right.
And I didn't want to start the podcast and then immediately be like, oh, well, you know, every once in a while I'll drop an episode. Now I wanted to do it the right way, where every week at this time there's going to be a new episode,
Right.
or every 2 weeks, or however. And then obviously I like to make things hard on myself, so I started right out saying I'm going to do it every week.
Right.
And but I've been able to keep with it. I did take 2 weeks off when I went on vacation and stuff, and partially because I wanted to take an actual vacation, but
Right.
also partially because my backlog of those 6 banked episodes, I've used
up.
them all. They're gone. So now I'm working on trying to get back ahead and get more episodes banked again, which I'm doing a pretty good job of getting.
Good.
But it's fun, and I appreciate it. I appreciate what it's been doing for me, and I don't know. I have a good time doing it. It's just fun.
I love it. I love seeing people do something they're passionate about and trying something different that's, you know, not in the comfort zone, you know?
Yeah. The fun thing is the conversations I have with people, dude. I mean, people are just, you know, people come in here, a lot of people come in here and they're super nervous about talking to me or whatever. You know, I've never done anything like this type of thing. And, you know, I'll take them to lunch and, you know, try and loosen them up a little bit. Then we get going, and I try and have it set up in here so it's not intimidating.
Right.
You know? I don't do the whole headphone thing and
all the
this
plants
stuff.
everywhere.
Calming.
Calming.
To be fair, those plants would be here whether he was doing the podcast or not. They've invaded.
Yeah.
There's one right behind me.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, I try and have it set up so to try and make it comfortable. And then, but it's funny, the people that are the most nervous seem to,
Talk.
man, they talk like you, like
Ernie
somebody that's
was
nervous, they get
awesome.
going, and then you're like, you never get to say a word because they just are telling you stories, or, you know, you figure out what people are passionate about, and it's pretty natural to talk about it.
Well, I think that speaks to you as well, like being, you know, somebody that'll listen and everything. So, yeah. It's awesome.
Well, I try and listen.
Well, you've done a good job so far.
Oh, it's fun. It's easy to do when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people that I really enjoy spending time with anyways. So
It's good.
You know, I've started this podcast out with mostly friends and people that I'm fairly close with. And now I'm starting to get some other people coming in that are, you know, people I don't really know that well. And,
Who's next?
well, earlier this week, I had Virgil Osborne on.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
And, I think next week I've got Alex Scarlatos on.
Okay.
And,
that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Virgil's a good dude.
Yeah. And, but I've also been able to do some cool things. Like a couple weeks ago, I had my dad on.
Oh.
And I did that mostly for myself. It's just selfish. Because the coolest thing about having a podcast is you can capture memories forever. I mean, so who knows how much longer I have with my dad, you know?
That's so cool.
But hopefully a long time. But
Right.
if not,
You got
if
that.
I'm listening, I can listen to that. And
How was that experience? Like,
it was great, dude. We had a good time.
Good.
I learned. I heard a couple stories that I didn't know, and he had a good time. It's
Good.
funny though because he really doesn't understand technology that
Right.
good. And like we're talking, and he knows we're doing a podcast. Like 3/4 of the way through the episode, he goes, "Are you recording this?" I was like,
yeah.
It's like, that's how it works, Dad.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. He just thought he was talking to you. Oh,
I was like, oh,
Turns into a Seinfeld episode.
I love it.
yeah, it was funny. But yeah, it's great.
Good.
I know Jacob over there at your shop.
Yeah.
Him and Trent were talking about starting a podcast. He said that they bought everything to do it.
They got like the whole 9.
They just haven't figured out how to use it yet or do anything.
I would like to do something with them on that. There's a couple great guys in our industry that do the shirt show and stuff like that. And but man, I love what you've done here, and not just the topic of your store, just the topic of life and whatever kind of comes to that.
Yeah.
Like that's the best. That's the best, man. Everybody's story is so much different. Like learning about Mike today and painting and how many guys he has under him and stuff. That's just like, we're just all people trying to do the best that we can.
Yeah, it was funny. My friend's wife, he said that they were driving and he was listening to the podcast. And he's like, she looked over at me and she goes, they're not even talking about it. She goes, what is this show even about? They're just BSing. And he goes, well, yeah, that's what
this show's about. Yeah.
That's so funny. I know even Josh is like, so what's your podcast about? Like, nothing specific.
Yeah, that's not about anything.
No.
Just people hanging out.
That's the cool part.
That's the cool part.
One of my cousins listens to it. He's over in Astoria.
Okay.
And shout out to my cousin Lenny, by the way.
Oh, is it really Lenny?
Yeah.
Another cousin Lenny.
Yeah, you know what was funny was you messaged me, or he messaged me. No, you messaged me, and somehow or another, my phone had both of your guys' numbers under one contact because the name was the same. And
it merged them.
So remember, I responded to your message, and I was like, then you said something back, and I was like,
wait a minute.
Is a weird response.
I thought your message was random as it was. I was like, all right.
And then
you said it was my cousin, but I didn't realize that he had the same name.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, anyways, I talked to him a while back, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your episodes." He goes, "I think it's cool listening to these people talk about stuff." He goes, "You get to have some awesome conversations with people," and it's just turned into a blessing. It's been pretty fun.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, if you guys ever decide to start a podcast, I would love to come on.
Oh yeah,
Jacob had first said it's something about his idea for a podcast was something to do with church or something.
Okay.
And then he said that he was thinking they were going to do just like a small business podcast.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that was part of why they never started anything, because they could never lock down what they wanted.
Yeah, I think that's hard. I mean, what you're doing here is, I think, awesome. Just that organic conversation and with all your spare time.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I try and set most of Friday aside to do it, and then I edit in between when I'm doing all my other stuff during the week. And
I'm sure I can come to you for advice. So
yeah,
always something new to learn.
It's not super hard to learn. So what kind of plans do you got for the future, dude?
Right now, the biggest thing is getting the shop set all the way back up and getting efficiencies so we can handle more work. We've been blessed with the amount of work and volume we have in 2 weeks, so that's been great. But we're just able to operate, not everything's in its spot yet, but I think you have to set it up and see where the inefficiencies are, and that's where we're at. What needs to move, and get the workflow, because we did move their shop from one side of our building back to another side. It gave us more space, more lighting, and we had our equipment and their equipment that we merged together. So we're getting all those kinks worked out. And then just getting back out there in the community. Before I was on city council.
And are you running it? You're running it under Vital Signs Northwest?
Yeah, so Vital Signs Northwest is doing all the business-to-business side. And then we still own Altered Industries, which ended up being the online store.
And you're keeping it that way.
We're keeping it that way. So there's just not a confusion of what services you're getting from each one. So, yeah. We're working on a new website for Vital Signs. I'm pretty excited about that. So I got to film and get some, pictures of some of the work that we're doing. We're currently working with Convey on some really awesome hats right now. EC Electric out of Portland. We're doing a large batch of hats for them. And then I ran into one of the managers over at Bigfoot Beverages when we went and had lunch today. And so hopefully we can get something knocked out for them. And so, yeah, just kind of reestablishing.
Hopefully they hurry up and quit being on strike.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're probably in the works of something.
They're close.
Yeah, they're close. So,
I know my beverage.
yeah.
My beverage cooler is almost empty here at the store.
Yeah, so it's probably not the greatest time to have that going because everybody's shorthanded, but it is what it is. You know, everybody's trying to make it through this economy and this kind of recession we're in, and we got elections in like 10 days or something, and we'll have an answer of what's kind of the future.
The go or no go switch.
Go or no go switch. Yeah. So I'm tired of being on pause.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
This whole crap is. I'm
yeah,
over it.
that's what
it's hard to make a plan when you don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Feels
as
like
as far as business goes, it's like nobody wants to spend any money because they don't know. What's going to happen.
Yeah. And you can't fault anybody; they don't know. So, but other than that, I got some fishing in. I'm hoping I can get a hunt in or two with you and help you.
I think we're going to try and go out Sunday.
Drag something out. And,
yeah.
So just really getting reestablished back in the community. That's my biggest priority. So, yeah.
Sweet. What about you, Josh? You got any cool going on?
I mean, kind of. I've been getting, like I said, more into soldering, fixing, PCBs and stuff for consoles and games. I actually bought a lot of 8 PCBs for Super Nintendo cartridges, and I actually recreated the labels for them and printed them and cut them with the Cricut printer.
Cool.
So I bought the replacement shells from AliExpress in China or whatever, so they're not super great quality, but they're close enough that to the average person just looking at it, it's going to look pretty much almost identical. So that's kind of one of the fun things I've been playing around with, trying to fix those boards up and get them working, and then recreating the labels to make it nice. And a couple of them are duplicates that I already have, so I'm going to give them to another cousin, not Lenny, but another cousin, as a gift because he has the Super Nintendo as well. So, just something like that, and just
that's awesome, man.
Trying to grow the business with my sister, and hopefully get somewhere close to where Andrew and Lenny are at level wise as far as the business, so I can no longer have to worry about my regular 9 to 5 and actually have just running the business as my main function, as it were. So
basically you want to work more.
Yeah.
It's not that I would be working less, but rather have those 40 hours a week that are dedicated to somebody else directly just for my business.
Yeah, so you can dedicate
instead
to yourself. Yeah.
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 But at least it's all going to me and family and our business rather than
you forgot
a different business.
You forgot the government. It's you, me, the IRS, and the state of Oregon.
They don't need to know.
Somehow they do, though.
Somehow
they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those 81,000 new IRS agents.
Yeah. No free rides, man.
That's cool, though. I think, or I hope that everyone that tries to do their own thing is successful. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's tough.
That's the dream, so
it's a dream for a lot of people. I've found, I have had breakfast with a couple guys lately, and they tell me that that's not their dream. They don't want, and I never realized that. So that was something that I had learned, that some people just, they want to show up to work, they want to do a good job, and they want that guaranteed paycheck.
Compensation.
And that compensation for that time
my
exchange.
effort.
It's a lot of stress. I mean, it is a lot. Having your own business.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Have to
do
be.
it all. I definitely. My whole idea before I bought this business was that I just wanted a job, so I could just work. But I had been a boss, the manager or whatever for so long everywhere that I can't turn that off. I can't just be an employee when the people that I work for are knuckleheads or whatever,
That's normal though.
Yeah, it is normal.
And I just can't do it. And so it just naturally worked into, hey, I think I can, run my own thing. And But it's a lot of stress. And,
It is.
and I could totally see how some people would not want to do that, you know?
Yeah. We were talking about hats earlier, and it's amazing. You take one hat off, and all of a sudden you have another hat on and another hat. You're not just like, there's no label when you're an owner.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Your IT, your HR, I think there's a point where you get in a level where you can start to hand those off, those responsibilities, but that level is typically unobtainable for a lot of people.
Or if you're lucky enough to have like a partnership with,
a couple
people.
Yes. But they have to be the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. So you see it all the time. That's why partnerships fail, is one guy feels like he's holding all the weight and the other guy, so it's the right people. And I've been lucky enough that I partnered with my wife, and so our goals are the same. We've both,
whatever she wants them to be.
Yeah, whenever she wants them to be. Yeah, we've both pumped the brakes at different times, and said, whoa, this isn't the direction I want to go. And we've yanked the wheel away from each other at different times. But I think that that obviously shows you what they're passionate about too, or where their passion lies. So you just have to come to a fine line, like, okay, this is where we need to go, so you can get there safely instead of rubbing off the walls. Because those guardrails are not on all roads, and if you pull too hard where there ain't a guardrail, you're going off.
There might be a ditch right there.
Exactly. So we've fortunately stayed away from the danger zone and have not crashed. We've come close. Like, that's just the truth of it. So, but,
yeah, Andy's great, dude.
She's my ride or die.
She's definitely the woman behind the guy.
She's the one behind the guy. Yeah. And that's made me look like $1 million, but man, without her, I'm nothing. So I'd just be a guy that could sell you something and couldn't fulfill it.
Because she does not like the spotlight on her.
She does not. Coming back from Texas, she has embraced it a lot more. And so she was I asked her to come do the podcast with me, and she was like, "No, Carlos asked you." And then this morning she's like, "Hey, I think I might want to do that with you."
Oh, she totally dude.
She probably should have, but I'm sure we'll do this again and have she'll tell you some stuff that I probably forgot, or the real truth.
Yeah,
the real truth.
The real truth. Her version of things. Yeah.
She's like, well, this is what really happened.
Exactly.
Let me tell you.
We probably died twice, and I didn't even know.
Let me tell you. Yeah.
Meanwhile, while he was sobbing in the restroom, this is what happened.
Exactly. Yeah. She'll probably make me out to be the little bitch.
No, man, no.
Yeah. So, yeah. I just got to be a hero in every story, man. And my wife has been it. We've been together almost 20 years and been doing this business 14.
That's pretty damn cool.
So, been fortunate.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
That's cool.
You. Yeah,
it's not very common in this time.
It's not. It's not. It's work. It's another job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is she's my back too. She's got my back all the time too. So, and the cool thing, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty open with my life, but I'm not the most, like, I don't let people know when I need some comforting or something. Right. I'm one of those old school guys that keeps everything inside.
Yeah.
But my wife can read me like a book.
Yep.
I mean,
he's still John Wayne in it here.
Yeah.
She knows
2024.
When I need something, and she knows when I just need peace and quiet, you know, and so it works out great.
It's rare. It's rare to find, I think that people think that it's even keel all the time, and there's not. There's highs and lows, and there's good times and there's bad times, and everybody wants this like Instagram story, and the Instagram story is that it's hard.
Yeah.
And you just got to get through it.
I mean, if you just listen to the actual vows during a wedding, it's, what is it? Through sickness and health, and good times and bad times, and
I don't know,
et cetera, et cetera.
I had a Church of the Internet person do my wedding, so I don't even remember what she said.
I actually got the Church of the Internet ordained.
Yeah, so if you need to know what it is, he'll redo it.
So I actually I ordained my best friend's wedding. And then his marriage fell apart 6 months later. So he said, "Well, that's what I get for having you ordain my wedding."
No.
It's all your fault.
So next time I get married, you're not doing the ordainment.
Oh man,
We're doing something different.
That's so funny.
I'm like, all right, fair enough.
I heard one the other day about marriage, and the guy was saying that things change, people change, circumstances change, health changes, and so you have to be willing to move through all those changes. And I don't think a lot of people prepare you for that.
Well,
life is changing, but nobody ever really says how much life is going to change.
Yeah. Well, and nobody accepts that anyways. You could give everybody warning.
Yeah.
But they're not going to listen.
Right.
No, it's like
my life's not going to be like that.
Listen, when your parents were always trying to tell you stuff when you were kids.
Yeah. Right. You got to experience it, I think, to learn and grow from it.
Don't touch that stove. It's hot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. Look, it burnt you, didn't it?
Yeah. Why you got that scar? Told you not to do that.
Bet you ain't going to do that again.
So, yeah. I mean, that's part of it, is touching a lot of hot stoves, finding those bumpers, finding the safe spots. So she's just been co-pilot through the whole thing. And so thank God this ride's got airbags.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things that you told me was that what was it? It only took you 15 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Only.
And now I even feel like it's not even true. I feel like I'm starting almost from the beginning in parts, except for I have the equipment and I have some of those things and I have contacts, but I still feel like I'm having to rebuild customer base. I'm still having to rebuild who I am.
Well, you had kind of, even before you left, you had kind of started trying to veer away from from the local business, and you just wanted the big jobs, and that's one way to focus. And
I think I was going through some stuff at the time after losing my brother that I just wasn't willing to face, and so I was trying to cut out anything that was kind of a distraction. And so I was doing the thing that was kind of saving me, and I just wasn't doing a good job of explaining. Yeah. So that was, looking back on it now, I can kind of understand. And then I just did not expect to lose Mike. And so that was
tough for a lot of us.
That was tough for a lot of people. Mike was so loved in the community and so tied in, and he was one of the only ones that chose not to move to Texas with us. Mm-hmm. And then like a month later, gone. And so it like that fast forwarded everything for us, because we weren't even supposed to leave for like another year, and it was like, we're out of here. And so I think it was just like a ready, set, go. And so we did, and we got, like I said, I got the time to heal and grow. And
well, it seems like it was good for you regardless.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
Like I said, I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad to be back. It's just nothing like home.
Looking forward to seeing how things go for you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And doing some stuff with you.
Yeah.
Be great. Josh, it's been great getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Got to bring our cousins down out of the wild north.
Out of the wild north.
Cue the banjo music playing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of banjos up there.
No. I bet they say they got, you got a pretty mouth.
Yeah.
They don't make you squeal like a piggy.
Oh, man.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So funny.
Well, I hope you guys had fun. I'm glad you came on the show.
Great time. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if Andy wants to be on, we'll have you on again.
All right. I said you'll probably get the real truths.
We'll have to come up with some more stuff to talk about.
Oh, well, sure, there's plenty.
I can think of one thing you can ask him about. Lenny, did you ever tell them about the Hello Kitty incident?
Oh, God. We'll
save that for the next podcast.
Yeah.
Little What is that called? Little tantalizing.
Foreshadowing.
How I got
Foreshadowing,
sued.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time.
The first time.
Yeah,
It wasn't hot enough to learn, right?
exactly. I had to touch stove twice. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Always a good time.
And the lunch was good too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm glad you guys liked it. Mike, it's always fun having you around.
Of course it is. That's why I always come back.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll call it a day for now. And everyone out there, until next time.